The sales hunter mindset is really based around two things. One, it's about helping others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. Stop and think about that. You're listening to this, you're a business owner, or you work in a business, whatever it might be, but your goal is to help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Regardless of what business you're in, that's what your goal is. The other piece is this, and this really hits home to sales. If you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. What I find very interesting is that so many people, you and we both need audiences. Hey, we need audiences to do our thing, right? Yes, we do. And what happens is I just don't know if I can call them. I don't know if they're right. Or you might be a business owner and you're saying, wow, these are some customers who I know could use us, or they should be customers of ours. But if you have the ability to help them, you owe it to them to reach out to them. Because if you don't reach out to them, you're doing them a disservice.
Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. I'm so thrilled to have Mark Hunter here with us. Mark's journey in sales included multiple sales and leadership roles with 3 Fortune 500 companies. Those experiences provided the foundation for him to create the name The Sales Hunter more than 20 years ago. This is when he began his lifestyle of consulting, speaking, and writing about sales. And Mark, I am so thrilled to have you here. I got to hear you speak at the big National Speaker Association event. And you really touched my heart and gave me so many practical tips. And I just said, I can't wait to have him on the show so that you can give the same for our listeners. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. And if you've heard me speak, then you can just go ahead and share all the insights and I'll just go get a cup of coffee. How's that sound?
Yeah, doesn't sound so good. Well, I'm thrilled to have you because I know you talk about mindset, right? That sales hunter mindset. And this is a show about mindset. And with sales, so many people struggle. They have limiting beliefs. They've got all these kinds of blockages that inhibit their ability to show up the way they show up and do the things that they know they need to do. So let's start with that. What is the sales hunter mindset?
The sales hunter mindset is really based around two things. One, it's about helping others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. Stop and think about that. You're listening to this, you're a business owner, or you work in a business, whatever it might be, but your goal is to help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Regardless of what business you're in, that's what your goal is. The other piece is this, and this really hits home to sales. If you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. What I find very interesting is that so many people, you and we both need audiences. Hey, we need audiences to do our thing, right? Yes, we do. And what happens is I just don't know if I can call them. I don't know if they're right. Or you might be a business owner and you're saying, wow, these are some customers who I know could use us, or they should be customers of ours. But if you have the ability to help them, you owe it to them to reach out to them. Because if you don't reach out to them, you're doing them a disservice. Think about that for a moment. So many times what happens is we in sales get caught up that, I got to make this sale because I got to make this sale. I got to get this revenue. No. I want you to flip it around. And I want you to flip it around and say, wait a minute, I know I can help this person. I know I can help this person. I owe it to them to reach out to them. Because if I don't, I'm doing them a disservice. Because my goal is to help them see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. That's the whole framework around what the sales hunter mindset is all about.
And I imagine that many of the people listening, they know this consciously, that what they do is helpful to people. And if they don't believe that, then of course they can do things to improve their services and get feedback and so on to make it better. So let's play with that belief that, yes, I can help people. And yet many people still feel uncomfortable to ask, to, assert.
Yeah, that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. What I tell people who are struggling with that, which is 99% of all human beings, me included, you want to take a piece of paper and you want to draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, you write down the names of some of your best customers. Some of the best customers that you've ever had a chance to work with. And on the right-hand side, write down not what you sold them, but the outcome that they achieved. What was it that they achieved? They were able to reduce the number of full-time employees they had, or they were able to reduce cost in this, or they were able to start doing this, or manufacturing, whatever it might be. But you write down the outcome, and you look at that and you go, "Wow, that's pretty cool. I got to help these companies, these people, these individuals be able to do that. That should give me fuel to do what I do." Now, if you're struggling, what you do is you pick up the phone and you call one of your favorite customers. You call one of your favorite customers, and they're going to say, "Hey, thank you for calling. It's been great. Boy, I love working with you guys. You guys are so fantastic." And that customer is literally going to pump you up. And then you're going to hang up the phone and go, "You know what? We do pretty good work. We do good stuff." This is why it's so important for us, regardless of our company, to surround ourselves with those little affirmations. And those affirmations might be the testimonials that we get from customers, might be those notes we get, might be just that. It's a phone call that you made to a customer, but it's those, because you're right. We can wear ourselves down, and then we go, "Oh, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know." I see this so often with smaller businesses, and they'll sit there and say, we can't bid on this contract. We can't bid on this contract because that's for big kids. That's for big kids. Hold it. Hold it. It was funny. I was talking to a CEO this morning, and this was a CEO who I had in my mind managed a pretty good sized company. I mean, a pretty good sized company, and wound up that it's only her and two other people. Wow. Wow. But I had this envision from what they were doing that she must have had 30, 40 people working in her company. Now stop and think about that. How did she do that? She did that because of how she presents herself, because of the website, because of all of their marketing presence and so forth. So don't allow yourself to ever think that you can't play with the big kids. Anybody can play with the big kids. It all comes down to the attitude. And the attitude is can I help them? And as a small business, I always say a small business is better adept at serving a bigger company. Why? Because they're more flexible. They are more flexible. They can do things that the bigger company can't do. They don't get caught up in processes and procedures. They just do it. They just do it. So, if you're listening to this and you're a business owner, congratulations. Congratulations. You are your company's best salesperson because you understand what it is that you do. And oh, by the way, when you pick up the phone and call somebody, you're able to have conversations and ask questions that if you had a salesperson, they wouldn't be able to do. No discount to the salesperson, but because you're the CEO, you're the founder, you're the president, you're the owner, you just command more respect. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. We can go out and get some business. Yes.
So what are the biggest objections that you hear from clients who struggle with sales?
Well, one of the biggest problem is they go, "Well, we just don't have time. We're so busy taking care of existing customers, or we take care of this." And I go, "That's just a big excuse. That is just a big, giant excuse. If you're a football nut and there's a great football game on TV, you're going to make time to watch it. Okay. I mean, it's just saying you're going to do that which you want to do. What happens many times is that we step away from wanting to do the tough things. And the tough thing, the toughest thing that every company has is prospecting. Because then they also go, "Well, I don't know who to prospect, or I'm just going to wait for the phone to ring. I'm going to wait for the phone to ring." I can starve to death waiting for the phone to ring. I've been doing this 20 some years. And I still pick up the phone and call. I still pick up the phone and call. Because when I pick up the phone and call, there's two things that happen. One, I'm able to reach people that I wouldn't reach otherwise. I'm just able to have conversations. I'm able to have conversations with business owners and CEOs and so forth that they're not going to call me. But maybe they're aware of me. Maybe they've read one of my books, or maybe they somehow somebody. but I can call them and I can have a conversation. That's cool. Okay. They don't have a conversation with me because they hang up on me. They don't take my call. Okay. At least I tried. But you know what? I have found this. If I keep reaching out to you and delivering value. A couple months ago, I closed a huge contract, huge contract. Took me 46 touches. This was, I'm a small business. Company I was reaching, oh, they're a Fortune 100 company. They're a Fortune 100 company. Think about the size. 46 touches. I had to do 46 touches. It's in my CRM system. Happy to show it to anybody. Over about an 18-month period. I got the deal. I got the contract. Huge. Now, the key to that was, I know I'm a small player, but I was delivering value. And every message I was giving, whether it be an email, whether it be a voicemail, and even there was some sprinkling in of some social media messages in there. It was about delivering value. I was delivering some new insight about their company, what's going on in their world, or what's going on in their industry. And eventually, then I got the conversation. And once I got the conversation, we closed the deal in about 3 weeks. Now think about that. This is a Fortune 100 company. We closed the deal in about 3 weeks. Unheard of. And the key reason was this. Because they had gotten to know me so well over the previous 18 months. And I could have said, I'm going to give up after 4 or 5. I'm going to give up after 4 or 5. But then I have to remind myself, wait a minute, I am the sales hunter, okay? I can't give up. That's not my DNA. That's not my DNA. I got to keep going. But I stayed in the game because the size of the prize was so big. See, I would not have stayed in the game that long if it had been a small opportunity. No, because again, I got to use my time wisely. But because it was so big, I was willing to stay in the game. Now, the way that works is this. That wasn't the only deal I was chasing, because I had a lot of smaller deals. Because if all I'm doing is chasing whales, those big opportunities, I starve to death waiting to close one. So I got to make sure that I'm closing enough smaller deals along the way to keep feeding my family, keep feeding the other employees I have, keep making it happen. But it's that mix. And that's one of the challenges that I think CEOs and owners who are their own, they're the salesperson. They're kind of maybe they have a customer service person, but it's up to them. Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, got to have that mix, got to have that balance. Yeah, and I'll tell you what. I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant here. If you are a CEO, founder, whatever, you've got, regardless of how many salespeople you have, you've got to be in sales. Your company has got to see you sending sales signals, because if they don't see you sending sales signals, they're not going to view sales as important. And that is a big mistake I see owners make, CEOs make. Well, we've got a couple salespeople and I don't have to worry about sales anymore. And I'll tell you what, salespeople, boy, I'll tell you what, it's an emotional game. Excuse me, how many jobs are out there that you get your head handed to you 10 times a day on not even on a silver plate, you get it handed to you on the sidewalk. So, it's an emotional play. So they got to feel like you're in the game with them too. And when they feel like you're in the game with them, it's amazing.
Yeah.
What they will do for you. See, it's mindset. It is 100% mindset.
So speak to us a little bit more about that. I don't know if it's a fear of rejection or that emotional game.
Yeah, here's the situation. It is mindset and it is 100% emotional. And my view is this. The mindset I have going into a phone call or a meeting predetermines the results I get coming out of it. And I say this for a very simple reason, because when I go into a phone call, go into a meeting, expecting something good to happen, it's amazing how I listen differently. I just listen differently, and I ask better questions, and I'm just able to resonate better with that person. And it's amazing. I'm able to keep that call going. I'm able to keep that piece moving forward. Yeah. And this whole emotional piece begins first thing in the morning. And I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you whether you're in sales, whether you're a CEO, whatever. First thing when you get up in the morning, are you thinking about the people who you're going to impact? Are you thinking about the people who you are going to influence that day? This is so key, because my goal is if I can influence and impact you in a positive manner, I've had a great day, right? I've had a great day. Something good is going to come of that. And that's the whole goal. I had first thing this morning, I had a staff meeting. And I spent a couple minutes. We were talking about what everybody did for the weekend, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And but I emotionally connect with them. One of my people, her she had two kids that were out sick over the weekend. And I said, hey, don't worry about this morning. If you got to get caught up on sleep because you were up all night over the weekend, don't worry. We'll get, again, I'm not sweating bullets. See this, when you lead employees, you got to play the long game. You got to play the long game. Now, that doesn't mean that they're excused from short-term behavior. No, they are held firm. But what I found is this: if I deal and play the long game and be a little bit compassionate and emotional, one of my team people is going to take tomorrow off. I said, fine, it's great. And when I do this, there are times that, hey, I got to get this done. We got to get this done by 2 o'clock. No problem, no problem. I've even got a couple of my people, because the hours that they like to work, that I can call them on the weekend. Say, hey, can you get this done by Monday? Oh, sure, no problem at all. When you play the long game, you can change short-term behavior. But if you beat people up on short-term behavior, it's amazing how they won't respond to you long-term, because they'll walk out the door, they'll quit. Yeah, yeah. That, to me, that's leadership. Because I haven't shared my definition of leadership, which is really what I said earlier about sales. It's helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Think about that. That's what we do as a leader. That's what we do as a salesperson. Fascinating how the two come together.
Yeah. And, they come together in the heart, in the sense that it's something bigger than us, and it's extending a kindness and a curiosity and a compassion. And so you mentioned, there are some practices. So waking up in the morning, focusing on those that we can help make the impossible possible, so to speak, to help them. And so what about those individuals that, let's say, have that in mind, and then they get to the conversation, and, their body starts to kind of rebel, right? Their heart rate goes up and their pupils dilate and they're in that fight flight kind of scenario. What to do? How do we calm ourselves to be able to articulate what it is that we want to share clearly and confidently?
Yeah, this is what happens is we get one because we think this is the only conversation. This is the most important thing. Just relax. It's only a conversation. I have blown so many sales calls. It's amazing. Michael Jordan, he's been retired now for 15 years, but he used to say that he lost more games than he won. But we remember him for the games that he won. LeBron James would say the same thing, that he's lost more games than he has won. You have to realize it's just a conversation. And also, no conversation is ever a death sentence. What do I mean by this? I've had situations where the call just doesn't go well. And it feels like we're done. We're done. It's not going to happen. Happened to me the other day. Friday, I was coming out of a meeting and I had a Zoom call with a prospect. And I did not have time to get anywhere. So I'm literally doing the parking lot. And I can't get Zoom pulled up on my phone. Oh, no. I can't get Zoom. For some reason, I couldn't. Go ahead and call me technologically impaired. Yeah. And it just wouldn't work. And I'm like scrambling. I got to get the person's phone number and yada, yada, yada. And then I got a call I'm just about at the point of blowing off the meeting. And go, just relax, just relax. And finally got connected. It was about 6, 7 minutes late. The other person was it was okay. I explained the situation. I apologized. And we wound up having an absolutely great call because it just like relax, um, we're going to find a way to make this call happen. And it did. I had to use just my phone instead of Zoom, which worked out. And, but and then I get right back on focus. Here's some questions I want to ask. And see, that's key. It's not the statements you want to share. It's the questions you want to ask. I tell this of anybody in sales. If we would spend as much time developing the questions we want to ask as the information we want to share, we'd be a lot better off. But you know what? That's the same thing with leading people. The same thing with leading people. It's the questions we ask. Because my whole goal when I'm leading people, and I do this with my people right now, I ask them, hey, what's this? Explain this to me, or help me understand this, or why did you do this? I could beat them silly, but no, I'd rather have them explain, because when they explain, I go, are there some better options? You think they're going to learn more. They're going to learn more. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to get them into a habit of learning on their own. See, I don't want me to have to be the one to, this is how you got to do this. This is how you got to do this. Because if I get them to figure it out on their own, chances are they're going to come up with a better solution. Because the age-old thing, Steve Jobs used to say this, why is it that we hire really smart people and tell them what to do? Right? I mean, shouldn't we hire really smart people and get out of the way and let them tell us what to do? Oh, man. Wow.
So what are those questions, Mark? Can you give us some of the key ones that every listener and viewer should, have available to them when they're speaking with a prospect, or maybe even a current client that, might continue on?
Yeah. A couple questions that I love asking is tell me about how this fits into your overall business. Because I want to understand, so we might be talking about they want to buy this software, they want to buy this machine. So I say, hey, tell me about how this fits in, because I want to understand, because businesses today are only buying if it's one of their top 1 or 2 priorities. So I got to see what it is. I'm going to ask him, hey, how have you made decisions like this in the past? I love asking that question because I want to find out, is there a purchasing department involved? Is there a committee they got to take it to, et cetera, et cetera? I need to find that information out. 3, I just love asking them in terms of what's drawn you to even take this conversation with me? What was it that you liked about our company or about what you saw as to why you would take this conversation? And then I might even ask them, so have you tried other solutions? Have you tried other ways? Another question I love to ask is, so what happens if you don't get this solved? What happens? Because you know what's interesting? The number one obstacle we face in sales is the customer not making a decision. The customer just chooses not to make a decision. So I love asking questions like what I just shared with you right up front. And the reason I ask those up front is because I'm doing 2 things. One, I'm trying to make sure that you're a prospect that I want to spend time with. Because you know what? My time's busy. I don't want to spend time with people who are just going to be willing to have a conversation. 2, I found this. If I ask those types of questions, for instance, how have you made decisions like this in the past? I ask that question early on. I get a very truthful answer because there's no pressure involved. There's no pressure. If I ask that question right when we're putting the offer on the table and we're getting very close, then they know we're negotiating. We're negotiating, and they're going to blow smoke. I love just asking tough questions up front because it also allows me to develop a level of trust with you. I get a level of trust with you that just gets built so quick and so fast because you say you're asking me those types of difficult questions. I can see, wow, she's not afraid to ask tough. I like that. I like that. And it's also comes across as what I feel is a level of integrity because again, you're being genuine, and because whatever it is that you share, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question on it. I'm going to ask you another question because I want to hear more. And I'm going to keep doing that. And so it allows me to demonstrate integrity and create trust. So by the time we get done, I'm either going to know that, okay, this is a conversation worth keeping, or this is a conversation worth parking. But I'm going to know. I'm going to know. And oh, by the way, when I ask tough questions like that, it's going to be much easier for me to bam fam, book a meeting from a meeting. Because if I've asked you tough questions and I get you engaged, wow, this is a great conversation. You're going to be far more willing to book a meeting from a meeting. Well, hey, you know what? Can we get back together Tuesday at 2:00? You're going to be much more willing to do that than if I've come in and I've just want. Then you go, oh man. And then I try to book a meeting from a meeting and you go, no. Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit more, if you can, about that question of, how have you made such decisions in the past? Like, what are some of the answers that you get and some of the follow-up questions based on the responses?
Well, one of the big questions I get is, well, I normally look at just two or three options out there, two or three other companies, or, we have a committee that meets every Tuesday. Okay, so what does this tell? Okay, I normally look at a couple of other options. So this person, she or he, is going to want to talk to some other companies. Okay, so I got to know who those are, if that might be. Two, if they say it's a committee, who are the people on the committee? Would it make sense for us to have a conversation with them? And what I'm listening for is I'm just listening for names. I'm listening for people. Or they might say, yeah, well, you know what? I mean, yeah, how have I made a decision like this in the past? Yeah, I normally get it into the budget cycle. And at the start of every quarter, we kind of refresh the budget. Then we can determine what we're going to buy. Ooh, ooh. Or, well, I got to see because again, we're going to be ripping out something else. So there's going to be a cost savings there that we're going to be able to apply. Oh, okay. So I'm just, and whatever it is that you share with me, whatever it is, you ask a follow-up question. And this runs counter for salespeople. So many times salespeople walk in, I got these 5 questions. I got to go through question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, come on, people. I always want to go into a sales call with more questions than I'll ever get answered. Because that means I've had a great conversation. Because I may only get 1 or 2 questions deep in my list. Because you keep sharing, you keep talking. And I just keep asking you another question, engaged. And wow, you keep revealing more and more and more and more. And that's fantastic. Think about that. Isn't that the same way we lead people, or we should lead people? Because we ask an employee a question and they respond. Well, what? And then you really begin to understand what they're doing, how they're used. I have found this in the work from home environment that we're in. We see a lot of companies going RTO, return to office, but there's still a lot of work from home. And you got to have that questioning technique in a work from home because you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what's going on. So I gotta probe down deep. Now I'm not interrogating. This isn't interrogating. This is just a conversation. Think about that. Now, what does it do? It draws that person into you more. They're not actually threatened by you. If you're listening and you value and you demonstrate empathy. Ooh, there's a shocking word. But you demonstrate empathy, both with a customer and an employee. See, I find so much overlap between great salespeople and great leaders.
Absolutely. So, question for you on objections. This time, objections from the potential client. So what are the top 3 reasons for a no that salespeople get, and how do we then respond to that when we get a no?
Yeah. Well, the number one, price. Your price is a lot higher than we were expecting. And that's always going to be the number one. And number 2 is, well, thank you, and we'll get back to you. Okay, let me address both of these. The price one. First of all, I never put a price in front of a customer. This is regardless if it's in person or online, without legs attached. What do I mean by legs attached? I will say we have a Zoom call, Teams call set up. I am not going to send the proposal over to you till literally 10 seconds before we go online. And the reason I'm doing it is because I want to be able to explain it. Now, here's the key with any proposal on price. Price becomes an issue because you haven't created enough value. So I've always got to restate, what are the critical concerns you have? What are the issues that you have? What are the challenges? And I got to come back and play this back to people. And the reason I play this back to people, because now they understand why they're investing. Why are they making this expenditure? Because it may be a pretty good size expenditure. But if you can take the time to walk them through, hey, we put this together based off of, and let me just recap these for you. You're having a challenge with X. You're having a challenge with Y. You're having a challenge with Z. And let's frame those up. Oh, still the same critical 3 issues? Oh, yeah, they are. Wait, which one right now is driving the biggest problem? Oh, it's number two. You see, what I'm doing is I'm getting them thinking that, oh man, I do have a problem. Because when I get you believing that you have enough of a problem, then I can put my proposal. And then when I put my proposal across the table, and I love doing this, I'll put together a big fat proposal, because I'll put everything in it. I'll put, it may be, I'm selling software or machinery or services, whatever, but I'm bundling in service agreements. I'm bundling in all kinds of stuff. I'm putting all kinds of stuff. And then they look at the price and they just go, you got to be kidding me. That's okay. I can deal with that. Because then I can say, well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I went ahead and put together a second option. And then I, boom, pull out and I drop in front of them kind of the option that I really wanted them to go with to begin with, lower priced. But you know what's interesting? Because they're now contrasting that with this really expensive one, this looks like a bargain. If I had that just sitting out there solo, they would have asked me, they would have wanted a discount. But I contrasted. That is so powerful. There's a grocery store chain in the Connecticut area, Stu Leonard's, known for customer service and unbelievable situation. And Stu Leonard's proved this because he said we would put strawberries out and they'd be the absolute best strawberries. And again, they're known for their produce. They're known, and nobody would buy them. But when they surrounded them with a whole just table full of strawberries, now they had something to compare it to. And they would now pick out the berries that they would want. Contrast. It also gives the customer a feeling that they're in control. And this is absolutely key. Now, can you reduce your price? Yes and no. I will never reduce my price. I will, yes, reduce my price, but I'm taking stuff off the table. In other words, if you say, hey, Mark, your price is too high, could you lower it to this? And I don't take something off the table. Whoa, I've cheapened myself. I say, yeah, we can lower the price, but we're going to take this out. We're going to take this out. We're going to take this out. You always have to have, so you never, I don't care what it is that you're selling. You always have a degree of variables in there in your price that you can take out. This allows you to maintain integrity. Otherwise, what happens is you're just discounting your price for the sake of discounting your price. What does that tell everyone else who did pay that full price? They got suckered. And oh, by the way, that new customer you have at this lower price, That's their new permanent price. That is their permanent price. They're never going to accept a higher price because they got it once from you. Now let's flip and let's go. The company says, well, you know what? We'll get back to you. This is where it's so important for you to know what is their critical decision? What's the critical decision that they're dealing with? And what's the time frame that they have to make a decision? Because they may be suddenly this department. We'll say you're selling to a government entity. We're coming up right now on the end of the fiscal year for the federal government and many state and local state governments, not so much local. And what you'll find is that there's a race to spend the money. There's a race because there's a timeline associated with it. Now, we're not all selling to the federal government. I totally get that. But there's other things in there. There may be, yeah, you know what? If you don't get this decision made today, you're not going to be able to get this remodel done to be able to help you to do this, help you do that, help you to do that. I'll never forget years ago, I was helping a gentleman who was literally he was a window washer. He had a residential window washing company. And he was telling Mark, he says, man, I get so many people come out. I go out and do bids. And then they don't ever agree. And I go, yeah, hey, question is, why you want to get your windows washed now? Oh, well, we're having a graduation party in 2 weeks. Oh, we're having this or we're having that. Now you got the time frame. Yes. The way you prevent the walkaway is by having a time frame associated with it. Now, you can create your own time frame. Hey, limited supply, or you know what? We've only got 3 crews. And as soon as they're booked, it could be 6 months before we get out there. Okay, now you can play those games. And I say those are games, but only if they're real. Don't sit there and say that, well, I've only got 3 crews when you really have 4 or 5. No, don't. But if that's the case, or a limited supply or whatever, fine, that's okay. Right now, as we record this, we're dealing with a potential a port strike up and down the East Coast and through the Gulf, which could impact a tremendous amount of goods and services being moved. Does that impact? Sure can. See, so there's a lot of little things in there that I'm looking for a time frame hook, and don't think there isn't one. There always is one. Always is one. Yeah.
Thank you. These are incredible tips. Now, let's say they say it's a committee, or, they need to make this decision with other people. And, you said you kind of want to know who those individuals are. So what's the intention there for you? Like, are you going to invite them into the call, as you said? And what if the person says, I'm the one that you'll be speaking with, or something like that? They're not open to having you connect with others.
I just had that today. I sent all the information over to the committee. Who's on the committee? Well, you know what? I'm not really sure. Okay, then what does that tell you? I wasn't dealing with the decision maker. Shame on me. What I want to be doing is I want to be looking for names. I want to try to find out. So when does the committee meet? I want to be asking, because maybe I can connect with them by way of email. Maybe I can connect with them on social media. Maybe I can even call them. Don't hesitate in the least bit, because again, but I don't want to upset them. Hey, look, you're not doing business with them now. You don't have anything to lose. I mean, this is what I find so, and don't you believe that you can help them see and achieve what they didn't think was possible? Then you owe it to them to do that. So don't hesitate. Now, some people say, well, you're going over your customer's head. Well, maybe it wasn't much of a head to go over. Now, I get it. I'm going to say, hey, would you mind if I went ahead and reached out to them? Now, once you say that, you are obligated to do as they say. If they say no, then you can't reach out to them. If they say yes, fine. Says, hey, would it be beneficial for me to go ahead and just send them some info? Or what, I want to make sure that you look good when you send this to the committee, or you take this to the committee. What do you think are going to be some of the questions they're going to ask. Because I'm sure there's somebody in that committee, because you probably have sat in this committee before, right? Oh yeah, I'm in the committee every month. Yeah, so I'm sure there's somebody in there who is always the the difficult one. What do you think they're going to say? How can I help you? So that's the type. So then what you're trying to do is you're trying to give them information. They may slip and say, "Oh, it's Bob's name, or it's Angel, or whoever it might be, Joanna." Fine. Then I may go ahead and play the card to go over the head to them. Again, it's just feeling it out.
Yeah.
There is no universal answer to that.
Very cool. Thank you for that. And that hesitation, I imagine, may also come up with the, follow up, like you said, like 46 touch points with that major client. So, like, how do we handle the kind of inner world of like, oh my God, I might be annoying them. It's too much. Even if I'm adding value, there's, or maybe the external part, if you can also touch on that, and how do we follow up in a way that really isn't annoying, irritating to the receiver?
Yeah. Well, what you don't want to do is you don't want to send the same message back to them 2, 3 times. Hey, I want to bounce this to the top of your email list. Or, hey, are you ready? Hey, just checking in. Let me tell you something. I'm not a hotel. Your room is not ready. Okay, please. That just get out of here with that one. So I'm never going to send the same message twice, but it might be, hey, congratulations. I just saw this that you guys just got named for this. Great. Yeah. And when you get time, love to talk to you about boom, X. It might be that, hey, here's some information regarding their industry. Here's some new insight. Here's some new information. I was just working with a couple of other companies in your industry, and they shared some great insights. Love to share them with you. Call me. Boom. See, so every message I bring is something different. So I never, as long as I'm bringing value, don't think you can't reach out. Like I said, 46 times. That's a lot of touches.
And it takes a focus and a determination to be able to do that. And also with this hectic world and a lot of change and a lot of different directions that we can go in, sometimes that focus can be tricky, right? So how do we kind of stay focused? Any tips on that, like around the follow-up?
Yeah, first of all, don't start what you can't stop. Too many people, they have way too many prospects, and they can never reach out to them. I want to keep a very defined list of prospects that I can zero in on. And I'm going to have some that are super large, like this company I just closed, and a lot more that are medium and smaller. And they're at various stages. But I keep a very strict, in my CRM system, a very strict follow-up pattern. And I've got to make time for that. And you can't let go of that. Right here on this piece of paper right here are still some more calls I have to make today. And I will make them today. I will. 2 things. A, in my own business, I have a very simple metric: 5 conversations a day. I know that if I have 5 conversations a day, my pipeline will be full. I just know. And it happens. It's not the number of emails I send out. It's not the number of things I do on no, just 5 conversations. So everything I do is geared around conversations. And so at the end of the week, I get to 25 conversations. Now, I may be short coming into Friday, but I'm not ending Friday until I've got 25. I am not ending Friday until I've got 25.
Wow.
And so that's absolutely key. And it's all driven around, and I'm going to tell anybody, probably the best business book out there, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Absolutely a game-changing book. And you got to read it not once, but 2 or 3 times to really get it all to sink in. But it's those little tiny habits that you do day in, day out. And believe me, they do make a difference. It's amazing at what it.
Yeah. And Mark, these 5 calls a day, I mean, are they mostly people that you've met before, had conversations with, or are some of them what we might consider cold calls?
Some of them could be cold, some of them could be follow-ups, some of them could be scheduled calls with prospective clients. It can be all over the place.
And I ask that with a follow-up question, if you have a few more minutes, how do we handle those cold calls? Like somebody that's not expecting us, what do we say? How do we connect?
Yeah, what you don't say is, "Hi, I'm a really great person. Buy for me. Buy for me now." I'm going to lead off with either a comment or a question that is directly relative to them. For instance, I might have seen that I'm calling a business and they just announced a major expansion into a new market. They're going to be hiring 200 people. Great. So I'm going to call up the VP of HR and I'm going to say, "Hey, congratulations on your announcement. How are you doing in terms of staffing those 200 positions?" And then that person's going to say, "Well, who are you?" Well, I'm Mark Hunter with Mark Hunter Staffing. We help companies like this all the time. So how are you? How are you doing? Oh, we've got it all covered. I'm sure you do, because you've gone through this before. I've worked with a lot of other companies that have come up with some strategies and ideas. If you got a couple minutes, I'll just share. No, I don't have time. Okay, I totally understand. Let me do this. Um, there are some results that I can share with you. Can we grab time? Because I'm catching you at a bad time, I know. Can we grab time tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Now, tomorrow morning, it's booked. Why don't you just email it to me? You know what? I can email it to you, but I'll tell you what, this is absolutely fascinating. Everybody I've shown this to, it is amazing. Every VP of HR I've shared this to, it is amazing what they say. And there's some stuff that I really can't put into writing, but I could. How about 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Uh, uh, what time works for you? So I'm going to give you two very specific times. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm not going to do it. Oh, let's look at your calendar next week. No, that's too far out. They're going to forget about it. They're going to say, just email it to me. No, I don't want to email it to them. That's last resort if they don't take the meeting with me. Then I'll email it to them. But I'll follow up immediately and say, hey, what'd you think of that? And oh, by the way, I got some more commentary. But my objective is to get that meeting, bam, fam, book a meeting from a meeting with you.
Awesome. That was amazing. And then how about when you're connecting with somebody that you know, and and I'll say for myself, sometimes there's this feeling of like, I really care about the person. I don't want them to think I'm only reaching out because there's something that could be helpful to them and trying to quote unquote sell something. I really do care and want to know how they're doing. So how do you handle that?
I have that happen all the time. But here's the deal. Yeah, I'm helping you as a person because I like you as a person. We get along. But I'm helping you even more when you buy from me. I'm helping you even more. I had a gentleman who was involved in a pretty impressive meeting on Friday. We're good friends, and he texted me over the weekend, "Mark, the meeting went well." Well, I'm trying to get his company to hire me for a speaking engagement. And, I texted him back. I said, "Hey, congratulations. Nice job. We do need to talk. Not, I want to hear more about this, but I want to hear about your upcoming meeting." And I put that in a text message to him. And he said, "Yeah, hey, today's tight, but we'll catch up Tuesday." Great, fine. Catch up Tuesday. And so you can't run from it, because otherwise, I hate to say it, but bad salespeople have shoeless kids. It just so don't, because again, if you know you can help someone, and what's amazing, I have found this to be time and time again. I have multiple levels of my online university, my mastermind programs, and so forth. And I'll get situations where I get to, like, I don't think they're getting any value from this. But then it comes time to renew, and they're like, "Oh man, I love this. I just love it." I But see, it's not up to me to determine the value you're going to get. It's up to you to determine the value you're going to get. All I can do is I can just put the pieces out there. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. So never underestimate. Never underestimate. I mean, I go to Starbucks all the time. And let me tell you something. Coffee at Starbucks is a ripoff. Okay? It's just a flat out ripoff. Why do we do that? Well, because the Waffle House down the street isn't quite the same thing. Okay? Just saying. And I go, but the car just pulls into Starbucks. It just does. So somehow I'm getting value.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of things, yeah, you can say I'm wasting money. But you know what? Just work harder and you have money to waste. No, I don't know.
And I'm so grateful, Mark. You've given us so many amazing tips and strategies and kind of mindsets to embrace, because at the end of the day, we're here to serve people. We're here to do good. And when we believe in what we do, then we're helping people, as you said, to achieve what they may not even see as possible. How can we learn more about your mastermind, your university, your keynotes?
Go to Walmart. I'm in aisle 3. No, it's thesaleshunter.com is the website. People ask me, what was your name before you changed it? My name has always been Mark Hunter. I'm very fortunate. But anyway, thesaleshunter.com is the website. I've written several books. A Mind for Sales is probably the one that would resonate most with your audience. Talks about how that's this whole mindset. And I've got a couple of podcasts, Sales Logic. I do it with another person who you had on your show. Great podcast. And then I have another podcast called the Sales Hunter Podcast. I've got online. There's so many different ways, because my whole objective is this. Sales is not a solo activity. Sales is a team sport. Leadership is a team sport. And it's our job to listen and learn from each other. And when we do that, collectively, we become stronger. When we do that, stuff just happens. There is stuff that just happens. It's going to help all of us.
Well, thank you again so much from my heart for being here and for sharing all of these beautiful gifts with our listeners and viewers.
Thank you.
Hi, Game Changers. It's Vered. I hope you loved this episode with Mark Hunter. I did. I learned so much, and I imagine you did as well, about how to get even better results in sales by mastering your mindset, really coming from that place of contribution and service. And of course, some good, juicy, practical tips for what to say and do to better prospect and get even better sales results. If you love this episode, I invite you to also check out our episode with Connie Kadansky. It's episode number 34. Where she talked about how to identify and eliminate what's called sales call reluctance. Again, those kind of inner resistance, inner blockages to making those sales calls. And it's the hesitation to self-promote. So I hope you will enjoy that as well. All my love. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. And of course, you can download the Momentum Institute app to access a free course on mindset. All the best to you. Bye for now.